Weeks ago, I had a photo on Weekly 50 with some wind turbines, and then I took a break for a couple weeks and had these photos of a crop duster airplane, and now we're back at it with wind turbines for this week's photo. And again, there's the issue of how do you capture the grandeur of a Midwestern field with these enormous wind turbines? In this particular shot, I think it comes across pretty well. This is taken with my Fuji X100F. So the photo from a couple weeks ago was taken with my D500 and 70-200mm lens. It was a totally different composition. This is a wide angle shot, so you're kind of up close and personal a little bit with this wind turbine in the front, and then you have these other turbines in the back. And you see the expansive nature of this cornfield, and you got the clouds in the background. I'm low looking up. I mean, everything about this is composed differently. There's a couple key things about this photo that make it work, in my opinion. Number one is the lighting. You can see that the wind turbines are facing me, and that's good. I don't really like photos where they're facing away. They just don't come across right. They seem, even though they're still just as tall, it just doesn't look right if they're facing away. So the wind turbines are facing me, but also look where the sun's coming from, directly behind me. And that creates, I think I shot this in the morning. It was probably like 9 in the morning. And so the sun has just come over the horizon. So you can't see the shadows of these. You can kind of see the shadow of one blade of the turbine on the right-hand side, kind of casting a shadow on the center column. But you don't get a sense of like these shadows being sent 100 or hundreds of feet down the cornfield. But you do see the bright light and the way that these are just lit up in the morning, and it helps with that sense of grandiosity of this particular image. There's also one other thing about this photo that just works, and that is the position of these blades. Now, I sat and I took probably 30 pictures of this exact scene. I just sat there with my camera and put it in, I think it was 8 frames a second high-speed shooting. And on the X100F, I just used JPEG. I didn't edit this at all. I might have cropped it a little bit, but this is straight out of camera JPEG in terms of colors and everything else. And I just held down the shutter button because this position here, where if it's a clock, I guess you'd call it like the 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock position of the main subject here. That I've found is probably my favorite position for the blades on these turbines. If you look at the one in the back left, the one that's kind of more towards the foreground, it's straight up, like the one of the turbine blades is straight up and down, and it looks like it's not moving. I don't know why. None of these are moving. They're all frozen in time. But the one on the left and the one way on the right, they just look like they're not moving. But the one closest to us, somehow, to me anyway, conveys a sense of movement just because it's rotated a little bit. And it's really easy to take a picture of these wind turbines and not take the motion of the blades into account. How do you create motion in a still image? You could use a slow shutter, I guess, but I wanted it to be different than that. I wanted to convey motion without showing any movement at all. And somehow, I don't know the science or the psychology of it, but that position of the blades to me indicates movement in a way that other positions don't really.